darkness in the room and restlessly got up, calling out for Amelia. His throat was dry, so he reached for the side table by mistake. His hand hit the glass and it fell, breaking on the floor. Why is it so dark? He thought angrily, turning on the flashlight of his phone. He felt irritated, as if the house was no less than a grave. He saw Amelia sleeping peacefully, then walked outside to check what was wrong. The whole house was covered in darkness, filled with the silence. Suddenly, his phone's ringtone rang loudly in the silence, making him jump. He quickly looked at the screen. The number was familiar. He answered the call while trying to switch on the house lights, but no light turned on. This had never happened before. "Hello?" he said. On the other side, a very excited voice spoke. "Sir, it's done. We finally got the video of Jiran Taekook taking Taeyong away. Please come here quickly." Kai knew who it was. He was surprised because in all the footage he had seen before, recognizing Jungkook was almost impossible. Yet his lips curved into a weird smile. "Now, let's see Jungkook. Once again, the whole J family will bow at my feet." He smiled and cut the call. He switched off his phone, ignored the darkness of his house, and hurried outside. "Bring the car," he ordered the guard. He got into the car, ready to give this happy news to Lino. But he always knew what kind of son Lino was. These days, he spent his night with Rose, Taeyong's friend, making his life colorful. Fool! He threw the phone aside in anger. It took him almost 10 minutes to reach the place. If he got this video in his hands, Taeyong's neck would once again be in his grips, and this time he would press so hard that Taeyong would never be able to rise against him. He closed the car door and walked into the building. This was his city. He needed no security. That's why he stepped inside confidently. He entered the building and met that man. He was a secret agent who did many jobs for Kai. Jungkook's work was done. That's why it had taken so many days to clear Jungkook's face in that footage. They both looked very happy. "Now watch what I will do with the J family." He laughed, spitting as if he felt disgust for that family. He came out laughing, but his car was gone. He was surprised and called, but the driver didn't pick up. He greeted my car, sir. The man said, but Kai shook his head and refused. "I will go myself and see that driver." He started walking ahead while the man shrugged and went back inside. Kai shook his head lightly and smiled. From the other side only, this was said. "Good job." Then Kai walked toward the bullet train. He often traveled by it because his work made him hide from other Mafia eyes. Using this low-key ride kept him safe. When he stepped inside, the train was empty. Feeling relieved, he took a seat. The moment he sat down, the train jerked and began moving at full speed. Kai looked around quickly, then suddenly his eyes stopped. At the very end of the train, someone was sitting there, a boy dressed completely in black. His face was covered, and a hood hid his head. Only his eyes were visible, cold, but serious eyes that looked like they could kill without hesitation. The boy stood up. Kai froze. It felt as if the ground beneath him had vanished. He slowly got to his face too, while Jungkook kept walking closer to him, staring straight into his eyes. In Jungkook's hand there was a sharp knife. He struck the metal door of the train with it again and again, and the train came to a sudden stop. Only then did Kai realize the danger was in. If Taekook had not been wearing a mask, his smile would have looked terrifyingly deep. Step by step, he moved closer, calm and steady. The closer Taekook came, the faster Kai started running, to one compartment after another. But Taekook followed with the same cold calmness. Finally, Kai reached the last court and tried to shut the door behind him. But before he could, Taekook threw the knife, and it struck straight into Kai's palm. Kai's scream echoed through the entire train, but there was no one else on that train, only Kai and Taekook. No other living soul. Then Taekook slowly took off his mask. Kai screamed in pain and slid down to the floor, shaking from the heart. He trembled all over while Jungkook watched him with cold calm. Kai forced his hand, pulled out a knife and threw it at Jungkook. Jungkook caught the knife easily and shook. "My things are really trying. Anyway, any last wish?" he asked calmly. "I will kill you. Linwo will not leave you alive." Kai shouted he was afraid. "Maybe he will not spare me, but what can I do? I like the smell of blood. If you do not make my wish true today, I will be angry," he said in a strange, innocent voice as Kai backed into the wall. "I'm telling you, Jungkook, let me go. Someone help me," he screamed again, hitting the door. Jungkook watched him without hurry. "You are the owner of New York and no one will save you. Why do you want to kill me?" "Listen, Kai, give New York to me now, and your death will be less painful. If I really hurt you, you may not be able to bear it. This is just your dream." He shook his head and laughing. Taekook pulled out his gun and smiled calm and sure. "Okay, we will put you into a deep sleep, peaceful sleep," he said, pointing the gun. "But no, I will not be happy unless I shoot you in the forehead and watch you die. You should suffer," he added, his voice low and hard. He slowly lit a cigarette, acting like he had all the time in the world. "Tell me, where did you hit Taeyong?" "Yes, I beat him, and after I take him from you, I will give Taeyong a death you cannot imagine," he said and laughed. Jacob smiled and moved closer. "If you were not so overconfident, maybe I would have spared you. Anyway, tell me, what do you beat him with?" he asked, still smiling. Kai felt silent. Taekook laughed at Kai's fear and dropped the stick he had been holding. He put a hand on his chest and said quietly, "I will not kill you with that," he said softly. He crossed his arms over his chest, still smiling, as if this were a game. "You kept him silent for a long time. His body still has the mark of your beating. You should get a deep punishment, Kai. But still, I gave you mercy," he said and slowly moved closer to him. "I will just cut your tongue and these hands." He looked them with hate. "These are the same hands that hit him, right?" He pointed a finger to his head. "He is here," he said coldly. Then he touched his chest. "And he is here too. You gave him pain, so now your pain will be double. You should not even think about Taeyong. He belongs to Jeon Jungkook only." He turned back and smiled slightly, watching Kai like a hunter looking at his prey. "Jungkook, please let me go," Kai said in a shaking voice. Jungkook gave a cold laugh. "Go then," he said and stepped aside. Kai ran like a madman through the train, looking for a way out. But no matter where he ran, he came back to the same place again. "Let's finish this cat and mouse game. My husband is waiting for me. Look, he has called me so many times," he said, looking at his phone with a faint smile. Kai's heart was beating fast. Fear had taken full control of him. "This is what you wanted, right? Take it," he said, throwing a USB drive at Jungkook's chest, the same one that had Jungkook's data inside. "No, I do not want this. I want New York," he said calmly. Jungkook smiled coldly, tapped his finger on his forehead and started walking toward him. Kai again began to run until he reached the end of the train. "Please do not kill me," he begged, fell on his knees. "You people love life so much," he whispered near him. "But I do not." He grabbed Kai by the collar, pulled him hard, and then threw him onto a seat. Jungkook climbed over him and held him down. Kai tried to fight back. He moved his hands and legs, but Jungkook's strength was too much. Jungkook pressed his hands tightly on Kai's neck until Kai's face turned blue and his tongue came out. Jungkook gave a small smile and took out a sharp knife. The light of the train shined on the blade. Kai's cries turned into broken, animal-like sound when Jungkook started cutting his tongue. Blood came out from his mouth and the sound of it mixed with his weak breathing. The same voice that Kai had stolen from Taeyong was now taken away from him forever. Taekook lifted the piece of tongue with his finger and looked at it calmly. Blood was still dripping. Kai's eyes were full of tears, his mouth was open, and he could not speak. Only broken and voiceless sounds came out. It must have been a strange moment for him, when he was too scared to speak and you were beating him. It must have hurt a lot, right? He said softly, then dropped the tongue on the floor and pressed it under his shoe. Kai started crying helplessly. Taekook looked at him with boredom, like he was tired of seeing him. Wait a little, it's your turn now, he said coldly. Kai, half dead and scared, tried to crawl away, but Jungkook caught him from behind, pulled him back and pushed him to the floor. Where are you trying to go? He said, kicking him down again. Kai could not speak, his voice was gone. Taekook stepped on his hands, reloaded his gun and shot one hand until it was destroyed. The loud sound of bullet filled the train. Kai's body shook with pain, and Taekook did the same to the other hand. After that, he stepped back, calm, quiet, and without any feeling. I do not want to let you live. You placed a bomb in Jungkook's plane. Did you really think you people would get everything you wanted? No way. Now why? He said, waving his hand in front of Kai's face. Then he fired a rain of bullets into Kai's head. Kai couldn't even take one last breath, and in that moment, Jungkook ended Kai's story forever. He calmly put the chain inside the rain, and in the moment, Jungkook disappeared, leaving no trace of himself behind. Jungkook reached Las Vegas in about 2 hours. He looked at the blood on his shirt and walked straight to his room. He wanted to get fresh and calm his mind. When he opened the door, he saw Taekook sitting exactly the same way he had left him before. Taekook could not even hide the blood on his shirt and hands. Taekook's eyes grew wide as he sighed. Taekook said nothing and quietly went into the bathroom. A shiver passed through Taekook's body. He stood up and slowly walked near the bathroom door. Why are you hiding it? I know what you are, wild and cruel. Who did you kill this time? He said in a shaking voice full of anger and pain. Taekook washed his hands, then turned to change his clothes. Do you want to watch me change my clothes too? He said coldly and reached for his belt. Taekook quickly turned around and walked out of the bathroom. He was lost in his thoughts. Who had Jungkook killed this time? He was living with a man who could take a life like it was nothing. Outside, Taekook leaned against the wall and began to cry. He didn't know who had suffered today because of Jungkook. When Jungkook came out, he saw Taekook crying with red eyes, full of questioning and pains. Jungkook walked closer, bent down and gently lifted him in his arms. Jungkook, I can't stay with you anymore. You are just like Kai. He never had mercy on anyone. He cried loudly, his voice full of hurt. Jungkook slowly laid him on the bed. Kai is gone, Taekook. I killed him, he said in a calm, quiet voice. Before Taekook could say anything, Jungkook touched his dry lips softly, tried to calm him down. Taekook's body turned cold with fear. Jungkook leaned closer, breathing in his sigh. He held Taekook's face and looked deep into his eyes. You can mourn later. From now, I need your answer. He spoke softly and brushed his tongue over Taekook's lips. Suddenly, without thinking, Taekook slapped Jungkook's heart across the face. Jungkook stopped for a moment, his eyes filled with shock, disbelief, and then slowly anger. No one has ever raised their hand on me, he shouted in anger. In rage, he kicked the table, the expensive glasses fell to the floor and broke into pieces. He stood there with tight fists, breathing heavily. His eyes were burning as he looked at Taekook crying. You slapped me because of Kai, didn't you? I will not forget it. He said in a hard, cold voice. Then he turned and walked out of the room, leaving Taekook in tears. Taekook suddenly bent down, hiding his face on his knees, and started crying hard. He didn't want to hit Jungkook. Yes, Kai was not a good person, but still, Jungkook had killed him. What surprised Taekook was himself. Why had he become so emotional for Kai? Why did he care? He was not that kind of person. His heart was not cruel. He was just a normal person who wanted to live a simple and peaceful life. He kept crying while Taekook had already left the room. But deep inside, Taeyong knew he should not have raised his hand. That was his mistake. Jungkook was sitting in the living room when Taeyong came out quietly. He walked closer and stood in front of him. Then he raised his frown. "Punish me," he said in a soft and broken voice. Taekook looked at him sharply. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. "When I was in school, if my mark were even a little less, my mom used to hit my hand with a stick. These hands are used to punish me, Jungkook. I can take pain on my body, but I can't see anyone being hurt." His voice broke as he started crying again. Taekook didn't want to, but his anger slowly faded. He pulled Taeyong closer and made him sit on his thigh. He ran his fingers softly through his hair, wiped his tears, and kissed his face again and again. "Whoever even looked at you with bad eyes, I will tear his eyes out myself. What can I do? I am like this," he said, shrugging slightly. Taeyong kept his eyes lowered. Jungkook took that moment. He slowly opened the top button of Taeyong's shirt, slides his hand around his neck and leaned closer. "I'm a selfish man, Taeyong. I do not want to hurt you. That's why I say behave properly with me. Otherwise, no one else will kill you. You will die by your own husband's hand." "You would kill me?" he said with a small pout. "You know, when you talk like that, I feel like biting you," he said with a small smile. Before Taeyong could react, Taekook actually bit his lips tightly. Taeyong quickly stood up, shocked, and wiped his lips, glaring at him. What did I do now?" he asked, confused. "Check your phone," he said coldly. Taekook picked up his phone and looked at the screen. "When a person leaves home, they should come back, right? You didn't answer any of my calls. You ignored me on purpose. I'm just a burden to you. Aren't I?" "Fine, then." He threw a cushion at him and turned to leave. "Taeyong," he signed, holding his head. "I'm angry," he shouted and walked away. Taekook looked after him and Noor entered his breath while smiling. That fool made me look like an idiot again. It was almost 3 in the night when Taekook left the house to buy things to make his angry husband smile again. Maybe there was a trick to making Taeyong happy, and Taekook was trying it. He went to the store and bought a lot of things. When he came into the room quietly. Taeyong was hiding under the blanket. Taekook pulled the blanket away and threw all the shopping bags in front of him. Taeyong's eyes opened wide in surprise. Taekook looked tired and lay down beside Taeyong, who was still busy eating late at night. "You are not sleeping?" he asked softly. Taeyong shook his head quietly while chewing. Taekook sighed deeply and looked toward the door. It was locked. If it had not been locked, Taeyong would have probably gone out again in the middle of the night while sleeping. Taekook closed his eye, trying to sleep. "Why are you sleeping? I will get bored," he complained cutely, shaking Jungkook's arm. Taekook groaned, sat up, and took out tape from the side drawer. Without warning, he placed it over Taeyong's mouth. "I only sleep 1 or 2 hours a day. Let me sleep in peace. I do not want to hear any noise or talking now," he said angrily, his eyes flashing red before closing them again. "Grumpy," he whispered under the tape, then slowly peeled it off and started eating again, very quietly so no sound would come. The next morning, a new sun rose over New York, but it didn't bring light, it brought fire. The news spread everywhere like a storm. The king of New York, Kai, was dead. Killed in a brutal way, his body was so damaged that no one could even recognize his face. That night, Linwo had been with Rose, and Park was asleep in another woman's arm. Amelia had been with Kai, but when all 3 of them heard the news, it felt like a bomb had exploded inside their world. Amelia ran to the place, screaming and crying next to Kai's dead body. Her voice was breaking, her tears would not stop. Park looked at Linwo, who was silently watching his father's corpse. Linwo slowly walked to his father. The scene was horrible. His father's stomach was falling to the side, his hands full of bullets holes, and his skull was broken. Kai covered the body with a white cloth, clenched his fist, and closed his eyes tightly. Police surrounded the place. collecting proof and taking pictures. Sir, we need you to file a report. I do not want to file any report, he said, holding his head in his hands. But sir, without a report we can't. I said no report. Go away from here. His voice echoed and the inspector went silent. Everyone knew in the Mafia world filing a police report was a crowd's act. Lino was no coward. He already knew who had done this, Jungkook, and he swore that he would destroy Jungkook's every piece, just like Jungkook had destroyed Kite. Lino stood up and held his guards to lift the body. They all worked and carefully picked up Kai's body. The man who ruled New York only yesterday, they carried him toward his house. Park helped Amelia walk, who was still crying loudly. No one could believe Kai was already dead. Other side, June and Jacob read the news and were shocked. Dad, did you know this would happen? He asked shockingly. Jake lifted his shoulders slowly. When he didn't love anyone, he used to kill for power. But now that he is in love, he will destroy everything for it. Let's just hope that love does not cross into madness, or no one know what might happen then. Jake always spoke so calmly, and that calmness always destroyed June's peace. Dad, there are already thousands of cases against Jungkook, he said worriedly. Here are today, but tomorrow they will not exist. So why worry? Look, New York is waiting for us. Jake smiled confidently. June looked at his father in that one silent glance. All three of them, Jacob, June, and Jake, understood everything. For New York, all of them were selfish. June and Jacob smiled slightly, while Jake said with pride in his eyes, "Our meeting is today. Finish it and get ready to take your position," he said, patting both their shoulders before leaving. Mark, who was standing nearby, clenched his fist tightly. He had heard everything. Jungkook had killed Kai, and if Mark had done it himself, his grandfather would have been proud of him. But he had wasted time waiting for Lino, while Jungkook had never needed anyone's help. Burning with anger, Mark walked away. As soon as they all left, Jake called Jungkook. Jungkook picked up the call immediately. Yes, Granddad. Storm was bright and cheerful. My grandson, how are you? He asked happily. Jungkook smiled slightly. Happy. It was the first time he had ever said that. Before this, he never used to answer that question. I knew it. The partner I choose for you is the best, he said proudly. Your choice is always my first priority, he said softly. Jake laughed with pride. So, what is he doing now? Bring him here sometime. Today is a big day. Jungkook looked straight ahead quietly. He didn't know what to say. How could he tell what Pam was doing right now? Why not? I'm getting ready for the business meeting. He changed the topic. Jack nodded with satisfaction. Good. New York is ours now, and it was always meant to be ours. Jungkook agreed silently. Okay, Granddad, I will talk later, he said and ended the call.